Hi, everybody. Welcome to another session of Design Your Future in UX. We're very excited to have you here today with Christian, and we're going to be talking about getting a UX designer job in 2023. Very applicable right now, and I know a lot of us have questions, so I'm very excited Christian was able to join us. We will get started here pretty quickly. If you're a design lab student, you know the drill here, but if you are new, please throw your name in the chat. Tell us where you're joining from. We want to be able to say hi and just see who all's here. So jump in the chat. If you're new to Livestorm, chat is where we can say hi, share LinkedIn, thoughts, engage in the conversation. But if you have specific questions, please pop into the questions tab down at the bottom and pop those there. You can keep an eye on those as you go, because if there's time at the end, I will look at the ones that have been most upvoted and pass those to Christian for he and I to talk about here at the end. So welcome. I'm seeing folks from New York, California, Texas, New Jersey, Dubai. Very cool. We're getting folks from all over. Thank you so much for jumping in and saying hi and welcome. My name is Jessica. I am the Career Services Program Manager here at Design Lab. Like I said, I'm very excited to bring these series to you. I am going to go ahead and kick this over to Christian to get started, because I know we're all eager to, just talk more about this market and what we can be doing in 2023. Again, I'll monitor the questions tab and try to answer as we go, just in case there isn't time. But yeah, Christian, thank you so much. I kick it over to you.
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen. I created a presentation for this. All right. Do you see, Jessica, do you see just my presentation?
Yes, and I did want to say really quickly, because I know there'll be a lot of questions, this will be recorded and you will automatically get this recording afterward. All right, go for it.
Cool. Yeah. So, hey, hi, I'm Christian. My name is Christian. I want to thank Jessica for giving me the opportunity to speak on this topic, and to you all who supposedly are looking for jobs for either your first job or you're new to the design market. I will caveat this. I do use the term product design and UX design interchangeably. So if I pop into saying product design, I'm meaning UX design and as you understand it. So happy to talk about that another time, what the differences are, but I just want you to know that may happen. So I'm going to start off. I probably have about 30 minutes of items to discuss, and feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you have questions, unanswered questions. But anyways, I want to start off by thanking everyone for taking the time out of their day or their evening to do this. So you're doing great. I know that this topic specifically for new designers is a challenging one. I know that there's a lot of applications that get sent out and that go unanswered. There's rejection emails that come in indicating that employers want someone with more experience. So I just want to applaud you that you're doing great. I thank you for showing up. I thank you for being open to exploring options. I want to call it that you're determined and you're putting in the effort. So I think that's important. And yeah, so who am I? Quick call out on the lower right-hand corner of your screen is a QR code to my LinkedIn. I encourage you to either connect with me or follow me on LinkedIn. I post job posts daily across junior to executive level posts. I'm somewhat in the sweet spot of LinkedIn. I get a lot of job openings sent to my wall, and we'll talk about LinkedIn in a minute. But I do find that if a job post is coming from someone on their wall, it's really a job instead of a job post within the catacombs of the job search of LinkedIn. Sometimes those are HR departments, trying to collect resumes for future employment. But the stuff that I usually repost are real jobs connected to people. So follow me or connect with me. So who am I? I'm a product designer. My title is senior product designer. I work for a large media company. I'm also a mentor at Design Lab. I work across foundations, the academy and career services. So I do claim to be a career mentor because of that. And I do like to focus on people who are new to the industry because I feel like that's I see the most growth in that area. So I'm a lover of tech, I'm a lover of art. And for anyone based in California, I'm based in LA. So reach out if you are interested in meeting up. So now that we don't have COVID to deal with. So the UX job market. This image was shared and popular on LinkedIn last week. And I want to call this out and speak to it for a few minutes. So this was the job search process of a senior designer. So lots of experience over a 10-month period. This person was laid off. And over the course of 10 months, this was their job search experience. So I'm going to call out a couple numbers. This person sent out 115 applications. They had 22 phone interviews. They were ghosted 67 times and they were rejected 41 times. They had one offer. So out of 115 applications and one offer, that's a 0.8% acceptance rate. So if you are getting a lot of rejections, you're definitely not alone. And it's impacting everybody, which we'll speak to here in a minute. And then some things that you can do to improve your sanity on this topic. Really quick, I want to speak to this group, the rejected and the ghosted. I've been on both sides of this, on the hiring end of it, and I've definitely been on the rejected and the ghosted end of it. What I recently realized, this rejected and ghosted section item, it has very little to do with the applicant, if anything, especially the ghosted. So there are HR processes in place of how to handle applicants who are not going to move forward. There are holes in that system. If you're working in a big corporation, there are many players that have to monitor this process and give feedback, as well as the rest of their workload. So it's very easy to drop the ball in this area for rejected, quote unquote, applicants. And what that ends up happening is people get ghosted. So the rejected, largely the same thing. I would even say it's fractional how much it has to do with the applicant. A lot of it has to do with location. A lot of it has to do with budgets. A budget will get approved for someone to come on board, and then right before someone will join, get an offer, the budget will no longer be approved. So as much as I don't take this seriously, take it with a grain of salt when you are ghosted or you get a rejection. Try to get some feedback on what you can do to improve. But I would adopt the mindset that this is just somewhat of a broken system at times. Many times. Many times. So as we're seeing right now in tech and is all over tech news, this tends to be what happens. So we have a big company that has layoffs. Meta is going to lay off X number of their employees. I think today LinkedIn announced that they were going to lay off 700 of their employees. And it's not a misconception, but for the most part, it is accurate, but we're going to get to how it's not accurate. So we have the big company layoff. They all then go and apply to the same jobs at a different company. So you have a big corporation layoff, and then everyone that was laid off pivots and applies to the same jobs at another large company. So you have seasoned professionals coming in, applying for jobs. You have people new to the industry applying for jobs, and that's valid. You are competing against more senior people in this job market. But I do want to call out actually what happens quite a bit of the time, several things. You have a pivot. So believe it or not, regardless of what company you work for, there are people unhappy in their job and in their career path. And a lot of people use this as an opportunity to pivot and explore new career options. You have a group that retire entirely, or they just stop working. And then this third group is one that I think we need to focus on. You have people who leave, they get laid off, and then they start their own company. And this is a huge opportunity for new designers. An example that I could point to is in 2008, we had another one of these weird, what was definitely a recession, but we definitely had an economic collapse. A lot of companies had layoffs, and what came out of that were companies like Lyft and Uber, a lot of beginning AI companies. So I would focus, if you're a new designer, focus some attention on this space, startups. And you do that by looking at sites like angellist.com, TechCrunch, and look for new companies, look to see if they're looking for designers, reach out to people who are working for startups. Oftentimes these companies, they don't know what they're looking for at all. They don't know what, and they don't know what to look for. So they don't know, do they need a designer? Can they do it themselves? Usually they know they need a designer at some point, but they don't know what skills to look for in that designer. So I think it's a really good opportunity for new designers to explore this space. Reach out to people who work for startups, introduce yourself, try to get time on the calendar, and reach out to me offline. I can give several examples of how to navigate this space. So that's the next slide indicating what I wanted to talk about. So yeah, explore the space. So angellist.com, TechCrunch. One thing to know about this space, though, the startup space, is that you somewhat need to know how these companies work, how they're funded. You do need to know some of this lingo because the people who start these companies, this is what they're really into. They're into like the tech, emerging tech, building a product, and also the funding mechanisms for startups. So it would be a benefit to you if you learn more about this space. And you can do that by researching on TechCrunch, obviously, and on YouTube. It's a very active space. You don't want to come to it completely green, not knowing how these companies are funded. All right, elephant in the room. LinkedIn. This is my opinion of LinkedIn. It is great for posts. It is a great tool. It is not a means to an end. So use LinkedIn as a tool. So you can post on LinkedIn. If you are new to design, and if you're new to technology, find a blog that you like to look at and post articles from that. Leave your opinion. It's okay to leave your opinion on these things. You want your name to pop up on the news feed as often as possible for recruiters. So I would say be liberal in the posts, reply, always be professional. But that, I think, is the best use of LinkedIn, is the algorithm that serves content. Search, obviously, searching for people who work at companies and searching for previous colleagues. Reach out to everyone that you've worked with, connect with them, use it as a Rolodex, and then obviously for networking. What LinkedIn is not good for, that easy apply button. When I hear from new mentees, I applied, and they applied through LinkedIn, and I am including both LinkedIn Easy Apply and then their other workflow, which is more of a formal application process. I don't think that leads to anything. I think that Easy Apply is obviously meant to drive traffic to the platform. It's a way for corporations to collect resumes, but I don't think this leads to much of an outcome connecting to jobs. I'm sure there are lots of outliers, but that tends to be my experience. So if you are only hitting Easy Apply or using LinkedIn, I don't think you're applying for the job. So what you need to do, or at least what I encourage people to do, is to go to that company's website that has that job opening and then see if the job is listed there and then apply. Or find a recruiter in the company or a recruiter who represents the company and contact them and share your interest. So again, usually if you're looking for a junior job or entry job, you can contact the junior recruiters. The recruiters, their job is to get you a job. So take advantage of that. It's okay to reach out to them cold. They welcome it. So again, take advantage of that. It's also okay to use LinkedIn to reach out to people in the department. So if you see a design job in a department, it's okay to reach out to the design directors of those departments and indicate your interest. Again, you want to be professional, you want to be buttoned up, you want to show your interest. If they don't respond, you don't nag, but don't use LinkedIn just for applying for a job. All right. So this is like coming where you get into the a bit more of the meat of like what you can be doing when you're looking for work. First thing, open up your design aperture. So if you come out of a UX program and and the job search is not going particularly well or quickly, I encourage people to look for jobs that also use UX designers, also use product designers. There are lots of accessibility jobs within companies. So I would filter out jobs and reach out to accessibility departments within companies that interest you. Look at government jobs across the board, local, state, and national, all employee designers. Look at nonprofits and foundations. The larger ones will have designers on staff. We can come back to emerging tech. Schools and universities frequently look for designers, especially their libraries. So languages and localization. If you speak multiple languages, if you're fluent in another language, I insist that you look for jobs in that native language. I've seen a lot of mentees come out of programs and they if their native language is Mandarin, they're employed fairly quickly. They have to look for jobs in those spaces. Also, I am starting to encourage people to open up their open their radar up to the Middle East, specifically Dubai, Qatar, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. Those economies are really having to do a pivot right now from oil-based economy to other industries, technology being one of those. So there's a lot of government programs that are funding private companies. Those private companies, private tech companies, are looking to bring on designers. So I know that Dubai and Qatar are really generous with their visas right now. So I would add that to your radar places to look. And you can reach out to recruiters in those countries and introduce yourself. So indicate that you're interested in jobs in that market and see if you can get time on their calendar just to chat about it. So emerging tech, go back to that. Artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, blockchain, AR, VR. These terms that if you work in tech, you hear them frequently. It's an asset that you have a general understanding of what that means and what that space looks like. Doesn't mean that you have to be like a crypto bro, really involved in like the nuances of Web3 technology, but to know it's there and to know the basic functionality of it can really benefit you and really push you a bit further ahead than other applicants, because new designers are coming to the space. And if you can't speak the basic functionality of the technology, it indicates to the company that you then have to learn about that technology. So are you actually interested in that technology, or are you just interested in a presumably well-paying job? So I would encourage you to explore new emerging tech. Jessica later will be talking about jobs outside of the tech space as well. If she's not, she's about to. So I really encourage that. Underline, bold, highlighted. Okay. Side hustles. All right. You're working as a designer. You want to be a designer. You are a designer currently looking for work. And design does adopt, how we know design. Workflows, information architecture, user interface design. It's also very much a creative space. So if you are a creator, share your space, share it, put it up on your Instagram, put it up on your website. If it's quite well done, share it on LinkedIn. I think it's a benefit to show yourself as a creative professional. It shows that you can approach problems from different perspectives. It shows that you are a bit more well-rounded than just looking for a UX job, or that's what your role is. So I like to say working for free is okay. I know this can be controversial. I'm working for free right now. I've been working for free all week. I'm putting this deck together. I've been working for free for about 3 weeks as I think about these things and make notes about how I'm going to put together this deck. So working for free is okay. All right. Find a local group, Girls Who Code. And there's lots of reach out to your local public school. See if there's any way that you can get involved in design with groups within organizations or within public schools or libraries. So this is a huge benefit to just your sanity. So it makes the discussion becomes more about, again, crafting a career than getting your first job. So, and I want to echo what I said earlier about learning about areas of interest and find the intersections with design. So again, if you're interested in Web3 technology, then find the intersection between your interest in Web3 or crypto and design jobs in that space. So that doesn't, I don't want to limit it to these like new emerging tech keywords that we're all using, but think about the areas that you're interested in. If you're particularly interested in let's say healthcare, there's lots of jobs in the healthcare space. Are you looking at local hospitals? Are you looking at insurance companies? So, and then learn more about the challenges in that space. Networking. So there are lots of groups, national advocacy groups in the United States. I encourage you to get involved. There are local chapters, AIGA, Creative Mornings, Out in Tech, IXPA. These are large organizations that have hundreds of users, and then they have local chapters. I'd encourage you to get involved with those. Attend an event, attend an online event, read their material. Being connected to these groups is being connected to jobs and the prospect of jobs. On the local level, there is a group in the DC area called Nova UX. I think groups, search your meetup.com for groups in your area and get involved in it. Go attend online or in person. Orange County has a huge UX meetup in Irvine. I've known people who get jobs by attending that. Design Buddies, I know, has become quite popular. Essentially, the goal is that you want to attend these and you want to get people time to meet you for coffee or time on their calendar to meet online, 10, 15 minutes, ask them about their career path. How did they get to where they are now? And what can you be doing to help push your career further? Finally, digital networking. I think it's better to meet in person than it is online. So I think that it shows a level of interest. You can gauge someone's interest in you easier. So I would encourage, as though I know we've all been living behind screens for the past few years, I would encourage, if there's a physical event taking place, to attend the physical event versus the online event. But I digress. If you know me, there might be some people in this room who already know me. I say this a lot to my mentees. Are you creating moments of serendipity? So serendipity, and this is really obnoxious, and I say it a lot. Serendipity is, when you hear people talk about their job or their career path and they were just at the right place at the right time, or they just fell into their job or their job fell into their lap. That is serendipity for the most part. And I would challenge you, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you contributing to help create that moment of serendipity? Because you don't know when it's going to happen. But if you're just hitting the LinkedIn auto apply, that's not serendipity. So you're not creating moments of serendipity. So think about that throughout your day. How can you create moments of serendipity by getting involved? I hear about this a lot, imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? It's working in a space that you feel like you don't belong in. I had it right now. Everyone has it a lot. So imposter syndrome, really the only way, in my experience, to combat it is to get involved. You need to talk about what you want to do with others, talk about it on LinkedIn, talk about what kind of design job you're looking for. You want to talk about your career journey. You want to talk about your wins. And again, you want to learn about other domains. If you can speak about a domain, then you don't really have imposter syndrome anymore. So if you were starting to move up the ladder of the interview process for a specific company that's in a domain that you don't know a lot about, learn about the domain. So that will definitely help get rid of some of that imposter syndrome. It'll help you recognize terms. It ideally will help you be able to speak about terms and form opinions. So the only way really to combat imposter syndrome is by leaning into it and learning and talking about it. Organize your day. So check your minutes. How are you using your day? We all wake up and we have the same number of minutes to contribute to a day. So if you are on the job hunt and you find that you get through what would be a normal work day and you haven't done that much, or you've just been like scrolling on LinkedIn or applying randomly to jobs, the night before, make a daily priority list. What can you do with your day? How long are you going to spend applying to jobs? How long are you going to spend with networking, finding local events, reaching out to people, organize your day and stick to that list. We humans love to stick to lists. We love to see progress. This is a great way to do it. If you were doom scrolling, so either on TikTok or my vice is YouTube. If you're doom scrolling, what else can you be doing? Because it's time lost, and that's not saying that you can't be on TikTok. Perhaps you should start creating content about what your job search journey is like. Use it as a tool and not as a means of procrastinating. And finally, on this slide, there's a famous saying in AA, focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. Think about that earlier slide about all those ghostings and rejections. Once that interview is done, you're done. So you can't control what is going to happen in that company. And like I just indicated, a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with you. So let go. You can't control it. Focus your time and your efforts on what you can control. So you want to be crafting a career, not just landing a gig. Organize your day. So self-care, really important. I can't tell you how to eat or sleep or exercise, but what that means to you, take the opportunity to do it. Your job shouldn't define you. I've seen several disastrous results for when a job defines a person. When that job goes away, because all jobs go away. If the job is your only definition of who you are, it really, again, has disastrous results. So gym, exercise, meditation, touch grass, as the kids say. Don't spend your life just looking for work. So again, craft the career. Also, there's no scorecard. So if you need to pivot, if you're really, you're chasing after this product design or UX job, and it doesn't happen, it's okay to pivot. I think in ways I welcome it, and focus on the impact. What other ways can design impact that pivot that you're taking? If you decide to go into teaching, what ways can design impact teaching? Or even your part-time job, driving for Uber, walking dogs, or a part-time job at a store. In what ways can design impact that space? You are working with technology. Most likely that in those spaces, most likely that technology is not very good, very well designed. Use as an opportunity to create case studies. Use as an opportunity to explore where you're working and create your own opportunity, or contact people, designers at companies that you work at. So last thing, you're still doing great. I applaud you for being here. Virgil Abloh, who was he was a menswear artistic director for House of Louis Vuitton. Unfortunately, died 2 years ago. Anyways, he said this really lovely thing that I try to keep in mind. So when you're lucky enough to get to the penthouse, it's your duty to send the elevator back down. So what does that mean? So when you get your job and you see posts, you send it to people that you know are not working. You send it to the people you don't like who are not working. You send it to people you do like that are not working. Don't cut off people. So, that's a great use of LinkedIn. So reach out to people, send them a job post, even if they're not looking. Just keep the conversation going in the job front. So that's all I got right now. Jessica, turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm back. We have lots of questions, so I'm glad we have time. Thank you so much, Christian, for sharing this. And I think it's created a lot of really interesting dialogue. There's some really nice reminders in there, right? Like, it's easy, y'all, and I'm a career coach too. I meet with I just had student sessions before this earlier today, and having those conversations of don't doom scroll at midnight. Please turn off LinkedIn. It's not healthy. So taking care of yourself is so important, and being targeted and specific. And I love some of the insights you shared about different markets we can look into, etc. So I'm going to pop over to the questions. I'm going to pull up some of the most upvoted questions so far. There's lots of questions, y'all, but and if your question doesn't specifically get answered, please do connect with either myself or Christian or both of us on LinkedIn, or yeah, on LinkedIn, probably the easiest. Shoot us a DM because I want to make sure those get answered. So, one of the first kind of like popular questions is what separates an average versus strong versus one of a kind candidate for a junior product design role? It's getting so many more upvotes now.
I'm gonna say it's those activities that you're doing outside of being a UX designer.
Yeah.
So it's the wins. It's the if you're sketching, if you're sharing your sketches, if you're a photographer. I've gotten jobs because I do drone photography. I've gotten product design jobs because people were interested in that.
Yeah.
So that is like, can this person do the job? Check. Oh, this person is also interesting. So it's that, in my opinion, that's what the difference is. What do you think, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing is applying to the jobs that you're most excited about, right? Like I, as a recruiter, and for those, I didn't really get into my background but for everybody here, I originally, I'm a career pivoter. I was a recruiter in creative and tech for many, many years. Hired UX designers and marketers. And the difference for me and a really good applicant was the one who was self-aware and applied in a way that let me know that like they were interested in this job. And one, you're going to feel better about that effort because you put the time into not every job, but the one that you cared about, and use Chat GPT if you need you to help, it's like save those answers that you really liked in a doc so you can copy paste them in. You'll find verbiage you really like. Why rewrite that every time? But it was the people who showed up, they valued my time, and as far as the application goes, we're clearly paying attention to the job details I had shared. We're paying attention to what matched their experience, where maybe they were not showing up. And like a secret hack, apply for that senior job anyway and call it out. Hey, I know this job might be a little too senior for where I'm at right now, but I also know you don't need to post junior jobs as much. I wanted to make sure I got my resume over to you. If there's ever a role that aligns better with me, I would love to be contacted. I literally messaged a gal because she sent that to me. And I said, get on the phone with me right now. You're so smart. Let's talk.
Yeah, 100% agree. Also, and maybe I'm wrong, I've been told I've been wrong by young mentors. If you're interested in the job, send thank yous.
Oh, so, God.
Send them in a timely manner too. Within the day, within 24 hours, send a thank you.
Yes, it's amazing to me how many people still do not send thank yous, and I am also far more inclined to feel good vibes about a candidate who is like, thank you so much for taking the time. And another secret hack, guess what? Thank yous are a really great way to answer questions you didn't feel like you answered very well in an interview. I had another student who did that, and she got the job because she flubbed a question. And she was like, man, I just didn't answer it. And I'm like, okay, write them right now and say, thank you so much. I thought about that question. I thought it was really good. And here's some more thoughts I had on it. Thank yous for the win. But yeah, I really do agree with you, Christian, like keeping and that's why I kind of come with the, like, get specific with what you're applying for, because if you're specific, it carves out the time to do the creative activities that fuel you to keep going and to find just that one, because we're only looking for one, not 10 jobs. I mean, maybe 10 jobs over our lifetime, but not today. Just the one is enough. So let's see what else we're getting upvoted here. So you kind of touched on the internships stuff, but this person's question is sort of a twist on that. They were curious about pursuing internships for people who already have experience. Is it worth applying to those, especially if they're not related to, like, you have to be tied to a school or something, or is it better to hold up for that full-time position?
I have learned that if you already have professional experience, correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, if the internship indicates it's open to people who are not in school, then apply. But I would not spend a lot of time chasing after that internship. Maybe apply and just move on. I've learned there's a lot of rules regarding internships, and what you see. Often internships will indicate that you need to be a full-time college student. It's only about insurance purposes. It has nothing to do with like career trajectory. The company may want to nurture young new careers, but generally speaking, once they want to make sure that you have insurance, so they don't have to cover you because you're gonna be working full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say apply if you want, but don't put any eggs in that basket.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. I mean, unless there's like you're having trouble breaking into a specific like vertical, like maybe you're really interested in like environmental whatever, and you're having a hard time because you keep getting rejections for like, well, you don't have that kind of industry experience on your resume. Other than that, that's usually an easy one to walk past anyway, especially if you do have experience. You can whip up a quick case study to showcase that you understand that industry. So another one I saw that I thought would be good for us to talk about here, especially given kind of what we talked about. What are the cons of like a startup? Is it better to work with experience, especially for like if I can't confirm who all we have spread here, but for a lot of our design lab students, right, they're new. So is it better to hold out for something with more designers? What are the pros of working with the startups, etc.?
Do you want to answer that one first?
Sure. I mean, okay. So I think the cons of the startup is you are going to wear more hats and you aren't going to have that mentorship. So you're going to have to seek it outside of your company potentially. It's going to throw you right into the thick of it. So for me, it's not so much a cons and a pros between working in agency or working in a startup or working in like a big like Fortune 500. It's more, where are you at that stage in your life and what do you feel comfortable with? Are you excited about the hustle? Are you excited about the new? Do you like wearing multiple hats? Do you have like a lot of other priorities going on outside in your life? And you're like, I really just need more stability and a team that can support me and grow me. I can't wear multiple hats. So, I mean, the cons are just like, I mean, it's startup, right? It could go away. It might not go very far and you might be working alone, but those might be pros to you. You might love that stuff. You might love the thrill, so for one person a con, for another person a pro.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably, maybe I would add, I don't have startup experience. I've always worked in companies. I think it is hard to go. I think it's easier to go startup and then big company than big company to startup. So think about that.
Yeah. And as a recruiter, I watch people go through cycles where it's like, at one point, they're really into a freelancing startup and contract and agency, more of the like, whoa, we're all over the place. We're doing lots of different stuff. And then at a different, like I said, different stage, you want more stability and then you go back to it.
Or really quick, do you want to add about like corporate design working in like a big company?
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with relationship building across the company and has a lot to do with strategy and alignment. And so I'm going to say the word bureaucracy, and I don't really mean that in a negative way, but bureaucracy. Yeah. So think about that. Designing in a corporate world, like I work at CNN, as was mentioned, or maybe not, but for me to put something on, it has been vetted within every inch of its life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's a really good shout. Is when you're in a big corporation, you might work on one very specific part, or it may be a bit more production line because you're doing the same bit of one piece of the UX process. Versus a startup, you might get more opportunity to work from maybe not so much with branding and things like that, but you're going to work more start to finish. You might get to work on research and wireframing and UI kit and designs. You might get to do more of the process. And you also have less in between you and the CEO, typically. You might even work directly for the CEO. So, which again, can be scary or great. There's a question that's been upvoted a lot. I'm going to take it because it's more in the recruiting vein, although I'm curious your thoughts on it as well. Let me find it. There's so many good questions in here and I scrolled away from it, but it was on cover letters. How important are they really? Do we need them, etc.? And my answer about cover letters is I'm somewhat biased. I don't like them because people don't tend to put any effort into them. But if a company asks for them, I see the laughing. It's true. I don't like them. I don't want to read them because I know you wrote it a month ago and you didn't even edit it for me. Like I said earlier, oh, here's the question. If you're going to write it, try to write it specifically. And that's like where I say ChatGPT now can so much help with making that a lot easier, and saving a document with like the terms and the words that you like, even having a version that's like, if you're applying for, say, your top 3 things that are important to you are a mission-based company, or that you want to work in e-learning, or that you want to like leverage your past experience. Okay, we'll have 3 cover letters that touch on those 3 things. One that highlights your past experience, one that touches on why you love e-learning, and one that touches on why you're into this company because it's mission driven. At least that's mildly more focused. But to me, what's more important is if they ask those little fill in the blank questions, oh, you better spend your time on those. They're actually reading those. In this current job, or at Design Lab, when I worked in recruiting here, we didn't look at resumes first. I looked at how did you fill out those answers? And if it was like, I really am interested in Design Lab, which is literally answers I've gotten, I didn't look at the resume. I just took it off. You didn't spend any time. You don't actually want to work here. You just said it. So rant over, sorry.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty easy to identify when someone doesn't want to work. It's not that they don't want to work there. They just don't, they're just applying. They won't work anywhere. So
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. And like, I get it, but yeah. And some company, but I also know some people really love cover letters. So if they ask, just try to make sure that in some way, like I said, you have your definitions of what your reasons for applying are, what you want to highlight, so at least feels personal.
Yeah. Keep it buttoned up. Spell check, grammar, Grammarly.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a good.
Button it up. Make it professional. I mean, just make sure that you're following the rules of grammar.
Yeah, and like if there's a good one sometimes too is if you find that they like say a word a lot. Like if they're like, we're looking for the wow factor, which is something I hate, but it's the example I keep coming up with in my brain. But if they say it like 10 times in like a job description, and then you throw it in to your application somewhere, it like lets me know you actually read it. So some of that. But another one that's been upvoted, what's the biggest portfolio no-nos that you consistently see? And this is, I think, definitely a question for you.
I have a bias. I don't like to look at portfolios on websites. In an interview, I don't want to see your portfolio from your website if I already saw your portfolio on your website. So I think there's ways of telling. I think there's like the online portfolio, christianknuckles.com. It could be a tasting menu. It could be a little highlight of process, but the deep dive of, and I know this is against Design Lab, the case studies you have to do in Design Lab, you have to have case studies.
Yeah.
I think that the website should be more, again, tasting menu, and then what you come to the meeting with is a deep dive. So that's my first pet peeve. And the second pet peeve is that they become very boilerplate looking. So in what ways can you use tech to help drive the story along? So the case study, and I'm sure I'm wrong in this, but I feel like it's a lot of smoke and mirrors in storytelling. So can you use video? Can you take the audio out and speed it up and help tell? And then I did user testing, and then there's a video of the user testing going on, sped up in the corner. And can you keep that ball going? Otherwise, I'm looking at text on a screen. And then I start looking for things like, okay, what's going on? What's really going on here? But if you're distracting me with this lovely, click on the thing and there's a little audio clip of someone saying, oh my God, this product changed my life, I'm much more interested in what's happening than looking to see if you use semicolon correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Too much text is a big no-no. And you touched on the Design Lab portfolio, right? We are a school. So to graduate, you do have to showcase that the skills.
100%.
Yeah, and then and then you get, and we fully expect that you're going to get into career services and slightly.
Those are two different things.
Yes, absolutely. I know. I want us to highlight that for folks. I've got to show that I learned what I can do, and then there's the portfolio that you slightly tweak so that you can apply. I think one of the big no-nos that pop up for me is not using UX principles. grids, being able to see the content, using your images in the same way across your site. I mean, if you're going to set it up, what not only are you telling them what you did, but you're also telling them that you know how to do UX by applying font choices, right? Hierarchy in your headings, and consistency across that, and understanding of color in your portfolio. I mean, for me, I want the portfolio to look like you, and I'm okay if they're pretty similar. I know there's only so many portfolio options out there in the world. Like, it's sort of like UX, like we want to find consistency. To me, as like the recruiter, first person coming in, like, can I find what I'm looking for? But this is also right where, like, this is good, because this is where design changes depending on who you're hiring, like which manager you're talking to, what's going to be important. But I think the biggest no-no for me is not applying UX principles to your own pages and site.
I feel like we gave two very different answers, and I do agree with you. Like, because everyone in the chat is like, this one doesn't even like looking at them, and the other one's like, no, yes, you have to have them. They have to be well.
But that's like the two different gates, right? There's the recruiter gate,
yeah,
and the hiring manager gate.
Yeah. So consistency, everything she just mentioned about like design aesthetics. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And I actually, like I said, I think that's really important to have two kind of different answers, because like I said, that is what you're going to get at like the front, when like the HR or the TA, like the talent acquisition specialist, is looking at it, and like they're not a designer, but they know how to find you. And then on the other half, is your story clear? Does it make sense? Like, as the hiring manager, like, they're going to want to know, can you think about this process holistically? So no, I love our answer. So I'm scrolling through our questions. Thank you. I'm really glad you guys have a lot of great questions over here. So kind of in that same, oh, here we go. Here's an interesting one. I'm curious, as I know a lot of folks have this fear, but how do you leverage yourself compared to those who have a UX design like degree and background? Like, how can those folks show up? And they didn't specify in this, but I want to break this down into folks who are maybe transitioning from like graphic design, but have like done and touched on some UX, right? So didn't go to a boot camp or university. Those who went to a boot camp, and then those who went to a university, because I think those are three different categories of like ways you might need to leverage yourself, or ways you might feel like you're at a disadvantage or advantage. So what are your thoughts on that?
You leverage yourself by posting your content, by being involved, by getting involved, by making connections to previous jobs, to the job that you, to the job / career that you want. I'm not anti-education. I'm not pro boot camp. It largely doesn't matter to me where you went to school. No, it doesn't matter. Not largely. It doesn't matter to me at all where you went to school. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
I'm in the same vein. I think it's all, like we just said in our last answer, it's about story. Can you paint me a clear picture of why and what you're leveraging from your old role? Because I don't care. You could have worked in like Starbucks or catering, or as a teacher or as a nurse. All of those bring different and specific skills into UX. And in fact, I would argue the field is far better for having people who transition from very different backgrounds than everybody coming from the same background. I mean, we need to know our users, and we need to understand the different pain points of different intersectionalities. So yeah, but I'm also very much in the camp of, I don't care how you got your experience or knowledge. I just need you to tell me what it is and show up with it.
Yeah, lean into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. With confidence. I think a lot of people answer that question of like, well, I don't have any experience yet. And it's like, no, you got to answer it like, yeah, I went to a boot camp, and I got a lot of hands-on experience. And I also worked at a job previously where I was used to collaborating and working with others. And so I know that I'm going to like dive in, and I'm very eager to learn about this job. I know I'm going to be great at it. It's, even if you have the imposter syndrome, at least set it aside temporarily. At least hide it from the interviewer. And I want to highlight this question. What job titles besides UX designers should we look at? Because I know you mentioned in your slides that there are other sorts of opportunities for using UX and product design thinking. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So product design, obviously product designer, I think is one. Digital product designer tends to come up from time to time. Obviously UX designer is there. I think that there's been, I've seen over years that UX design has kind of shifted more towards kind of like a, let's say the window of like what is UX design. So you have like the research and the sketching and this and that and the prototyping and the testing and the iterating and then the delivery. That whole UX process, that there's probably even places I work, those are individual jobs entirely. So I now see companies call it product design as like an entire process, because UX design used to be black and white wireframes with annotations. Like, here will be a button and it sends you over there. But
done in like Flash.
Now they want like, can you contribute across the entire process and get involved in the delivery? So yeah. Oh, and then UI design. I'm going to hit this up really quick. Yes, but also I'm seeing more and more that UI design is very closely aligned to engineers.
So. Yeah, and I think it's it also, I mean, UI still doesn't expressly cover the general. UX is still far more common where you find the general title, but like other, and like kind of expanding outside of product designer and UX designer and UX UI designer. You can also look into like environmental designer, which I know sounds like trees, but it's spaces, and like service designer, and information architecture designer is pretty dated, but sometimes. And I'm throwing some links in the chat here for everybody since we're getting closer to time. And I'm going to highlight for everybody. So if folks are new to Design Lab, interested in kind of making a career shift or thinking about it, we are having more events this month. We've got another event this week, and we have 4 more events two next week and 2 the following week after that. All of this gets updated in the blog, and this is just my general reminder to everybody. Yes, this is recorded. Yes, you will get a copy. If you want to share it with somebody, you can probably share that link, but if not, it's going to be posted in our blog, and that link is the first one in the links I just shared there. But if you're interested, we are offering, because we know careers are important and thinking about this is important, so we're offering for the June cohort of Foundations a bonus career coaching session. But I'm going to keep going with questions. I'm just going to leave this up because we do still have some more time here. Here's an interesting one. So on the vein of portfolio, is it better to have a diverse portfolio of projects or one that shows a niche design skills or industry-specific projects?
I could say yes to both. That's a good question.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I would answer it. I think this is probably more in Jessica's domain. But so we were just looking for an intern, and that person is studying media as well as design. So it seemed to be interested. They're interested in media, and the portfolio showed that. So I guess in that case, yeah, it's a very specific portfolio for someone who's interested in working in a specific space.
Yeah.
So I guess leverage that if you're interested. Like if you're interested in AR or VR, you want a portfolio that shows those things. Or if you're interested in finance, you want a portfolio that shows that work.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
But
say, oh, go
that's
for
all
it.
I got. But
Yeah,
no, anyway, that's the end of it. I can see a million other ways that that's not accurate. So go ahead.
yeah.
You can keep it.
No, I agree. I agree to both. I think what I come back to is whatever is in your portfolio is what's going to, especially for that first gatekeeper, tell them if this is the right industry fit or skill set. So if you go super niche, that means you're locking yourself in potentially to, like, if everything you do is AR VR, maybe you'd be like, oh well, maybe I can't do a mobile app for this thing, but you can. Or if you really lock into health and all of your case studies are around like different health, like either apps or desktops or sites or companies or whatever, again, it's locking you in. That's like, oh, you're telling me that's what you're mostly interested in. And if I have a fintech company, well, you probably aren't going to be interested. So if that is what you're interested in, lean hard. That's okay. But whatever is in there, that's what I'm going to look at and go, oh, I see a lifestyle and a health thing and some e-com. Okay, cool. Those are the three things I'm going to keep in mind for them. So yeah, that's sort of where I would say that comes from. And I'll go ahead and close the screen now because it's been up for a bit. And we are almost at time. So I know there's still, like I said, I know there's still a lot of questions out there, but please connect with me and Christian on LinkedIn, especially if there was a question that you didn't feel like got answered, or if you just want to connect with us. We want to connect with you. The market and the answers are going to be ever evolving, but thank you so much for coming to this session. I love to see your little initials and names and highs and thank yous in the chat there. And thank you for so many amazing questions. I wish I could have gotten through all of them. But there are more sessions, so come to those, or at least register so you can get those recordings. And yeah, I just appreciate having you all here and enjoy. I hope the session was helpful and enjoyable for all of you.
Yeah. Thank you. This was great fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this, Christian. We appreciate it. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.